No worries, guys. Well, welcome to our little presentation on New Zealand. And this is going to be the ultimate travel guide. Now, we just completed last weekend, we did Australia, the ultimate travel guide. This will be a nice back-to-back. So if you're planning to go down under, if you're looking to do both Australia and New Zealand, these two presentations will complement each other. And when it comes to booking this presentation, when it comes to pulling these elements together, you should really connect with Bon Voyage Travel, and they will work with us in putting together your itinerary. We work together as a team. In fact, what I'd suggest is you complete the checklist I'm about to run through, complete the checklist, and then you come into Bon Voyage Travel and they will set up a meeting where we get a chance to review what you've selected and make sure you're making the right choices. Because that, at the end of the day, is what it's all about. It's all about making the right choices. And of course, you've made the right choice by coming to Bon Voyage Travel, because as a travel advisor, they are exceptional when it comes to giving peace of mind, giving great customer service. They maximize your budget. They give you better choices. They save you time. It's their personal service, their insight and expertise, their assistance with documentation, and they are your advocate. They're there, out there, making sure that you get the very best investment based on what you're seeking to do. And they've got great industry contacts like us, like Travel Answers. We're here to kind of work with them, and they are your mate. And a mate is a person who makes Aotearoa travel easy. Aotearoa is Maori for New Zealand. So yes, you've got a good mate in our friends there at Bon Voyage Travel. So we're going to be going through a nice little presentation, which you will get at the end. We'll send you a link to that presentation again. So you can, if you don't get all the information now, just sit back, relax and enjoy it, because we'll be sending you the checklist, and the checklist is designed to kind of build up an itinerary. So what we need to know is the top 10 things, at the very least 10. The top, you've got more things you want to tick them all. But basically from that, we can then customize the itinerary. We need to know about, whether you want 4-star, 5-star, luxury accommodation, whether you want economy airfare or premium economy or business class. All that information is important to us, because we're going to construct an itinerary that's going to really match your needs and stay within your budget. It's important to get an idea of how much you want to spend, because that helps us when it comes to customizing the itinerary. Now, New Zealand is the youngest country in the world. What does that mean? Well, it's the last place settled by human beings, and therefore it's not burdened by conflict, by troubles that happen in other parts of the world. New Zealand's very much free of that. The first settlers were actually the Maoris that arrived between 1250 and 300 AD, and they were followed by the English and Scottish settlers in the 1700s. Now, there was initially a little conflict between those two parties, but they sat down and signed a treaty called the Waitangi Treaty. That was a treaty of coexistence. And so it means that in New Zealand society, they just get things done. I mean, kids go to school in summer. They don't have to wear shoes, because that's very much a Maori trait. And they learn about the culture of the Maori people. They learn about the culture of the English and Scottish people. And it makes for a more unified society. They'll learn about the song, the haka, kuma te kara, and they learn these wonderful, they have a great appreciation for culture, and they have a great appreciation for each other. And it's that sort of unification that is probably good reason for them being some of the best team players in the world. They just get the job done. And no better indication of that is on the rugby field. The All Blacks. The All Blacks are one of the winningest teams in the world. We're talking about all sports. Of all sports, the All Blacks, the New Zealand national rugby team, is the most winningest sporting team in the world. Quite amazing. Now, New Zealand is made up of a couple of islands. You've got the North Island, the South Island. There's also Stewart Island and a number of smaller islands dotted around. The North Island has the largest city is that of Auckland, population of 1.5 million. The capital is Wellington, population of 350,000. Then you've got on the South Island, Christchurch, about 200,000 people, and the lovely Queenstown, which is a great part of any good itinerary. Collectively, there's only 5 million people in all of New Zealand. Quite amazing, isn't it, when you think about it, compared to where you're from? And with regards to weather, the seasons are in reverse. So spring is between September and November. Summer is December to February. Autumn is March to May. And winter is June to August. Now, with regards to what's the best time to travel, well, that comes down to pricing. So the shoulder season periods happen between, say, October, November. That's kind of a good shoulder season period. And that's a good time to travel down. It's also great weather too, I might add. And also in fall, your spring, their fall, March to May, that's also another good time to travel as well. Summer is very popular, very, very popular to the point where it's actually considered high season. But if clients want to escape your winter and get down to New Zealand for their summer, then you'll just pay the difference. That's the idea. If you're traveling in their winter, which is your summer, if you're into skiing, well, that's a good time to be in New Zealand. But I can promise you, the northern part of the island is actually subtropical, so it's not so cool. The southern part will be a little snowier, but it really is, any time is a good time to visit New Zealand, depending on what you want to see and do. And we'll touch on a few of those things now. What I want to impress upon you is the lift. There's some great flights that you can take to get you down to New Zealand. And Air New Zealand, of course, one of them. They're British Airways, Hawaiian Airlines, American, Fiji, Air Tahiti Nui, Air Canada, and Qantas can get you down to New Zealand. So we can organise that. When I say we at Bon Voyage Travel have got good airline contracts, and we can bring it all together. We can pull the whole thing together. Flights, transfers, hotels and tours, we do the lot. Now, when it comes to pulling together a great itinerary, you need to also bring into account, well, what sort of travel? When you get to New Zealand, how are you going to see this country? New Zealand is one of the most beautiful countries in the world. It's like all the most beautiful parts of the world have been brought together into this one small group of islands. And as this couple here is showing you, on a self-drive, you need to get out of your car and need to have a look around, because the scenery is 360 degrees. You need a head that spins around on a swivel, because the scenery is absolutely everywhere. And if you are driving, remember this: left is right and right is wrong. It's not that hard because you're sitting on the wrong side of the car. Driving makes a lot of sense. A good vacation would probably have a combination. You might have a bit of self-drive. You might have some locally guided tours. And we would customize the itinerary to recommend some of the best small group and private tours found locally. There's also coach touring. Now, we've got some great coach touring operators that we work with as well. And we can pull together itineraries that give you some of the most amazing coach experiences. Look at the panoramic windows. Look at the seats there. You've got one seat with the windows, like air, you've got lovely air conditioning systems, and it's just aircraft. It's like a first class seat on a coach. There's also local transport, and the guides are very good. You can hop on local trains, and there's some great train travel. And at the end of the day, it's this travel planner that ultimately will help us understand better how it is you want to see the country. So make sure when you've seen this presentation, maybe watch it again, tick all the things you want to see and do, write some notes on here and give that back to Bon Voyage Travel, and they will talk with us, and maybe we'll have a meeting and actually get this all nutted out. Let's go first of all into Auckland, that city of 1.5 million. They refer to it as the city of sails. People living in Auckland, 1 in 4 people are involved in sailing. I'd highly recommend when you first start your vacation that you get a local Kiwi guide to pick you up. That's the first thing. The first thing that happens on a good vacation ultimately sets the scene. And this is where you'll get a chance to meet people and truly enjoy yourself. And Auckland is a place to enjoy yourself. Now, that big that's called the Sky Tower, that big spear in the middle there, that's called the Sky Tower. And that you'll use to get your bearings when you're walking around the streets of Auckland. The waterfront area is called the Viaduct. And over the viaduct, next door is the Britomart, and that's that Sky Tower. Over here is Ponsonby. I like to point out places that the locals go to. Ponsonby, Parnell, there's the Auckland Museum over here. It's some wonderful spots to recommend, and we can customise itinerary that will get you close to it all. For example, in the Viaduct area, it's a restaurant precinct, and during the day, there's some lovely a la carte dining, and the evening goes off like a frog in a sock. It's very exciting. Leaving from the Viaduct is a lot of sailing. You can get out and do some sailing on an old America's Cup vessel. And perhaps if you're staying down in this region too, you can visit the Britomart precinct, because that's got some great restaurants and great spots to visit. Auckland Museum is a good spot for Maori culture. And speaking of great cultural experiences, an All Black experience. I mentioned the rugby. To go in there and see the All Black experience, it'll blow you away, especially when they do the haka as a team. It's quite formidable. There's the Weta Workshop Unleashed. Weta is the group of artists that Peter Jackson used to do the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit trilogies. So if you're interested in that, we can incorporate that too. One of my favourite things to do, without doubt, though, is an Auckland foodie tour. Especially if you're arriving early into Auckland, you can actually do a nice little walking tour and get a chance to get your bearings and learn a bit about Auckland and find out where the best places are to eat. So you can go back later on that evening to go out for a nice fully blown dinner. Across from Auckland is the island of Waiheke. And this little ferry, 40 minutes, takes you across to Waiheke. Waiheke is well known for its wineries. It's also some great hiking and also some great zip lining and some great adventure. Speaking of adventure, right on the doorstep of Auckland is the Waitakere Ranges. Now, the Waitakere Ranges is just a lovely, the black sand beaches. There's wonderful waterfalls. There's some great national park to explore. Going north of here, we head up into an area called the Bay of Islands, the Northland area. And Zane Grey, the American author, used to spend a lot of time up here game fishing, and it's very much a subtropical paradise. You can do adventurous things like a little cruise through this hole in the rock, quite precarious. You can go swim with wild dolphins. You can go bus surfing. Who would have thought of that? Hopping in a bus and surfing up the beach all the way up to Cape Reinga. And Cape Reinga itself is the northernmost lighthouse on the North Island. You can then head down to Waitangi Treaty Grounds and pick up on that Maori heritage, and then travel with the Maori at night through the Waipura forest to go and visit the amazing kauri trees. This one kauri tree is called Tane. Tane means man in Maori, and Tane Mahutua is a great little walk through this beautiful ancient forest. It's nearly mystical when you wander through. Now, heading south of Auckland, we do what's called the Hobbit Highway, the Thermal Explorer. It takes you through Hamilton first, where the Waikato River meanders through. You've got the Hamilton Gardens, a great spot to go here for a little lunch and maybe go afternoon tea out at the Geelong Tea Estate, a great little tea estate. You can also perhaps incorporate surfing if you want to go surfing. I've got black sand beaches, or if you want to get to nature, then you've got some incredible nature retreats where you'll see endemic birds like the kaka. Now, I didn't point out, New Zealand also is one of the few places in the world that never had animals before humans arrived. So the bird life here is phenomenal. So to get a chance to go and visit these little places, to go places like Waitomo, for example, here's a great place to explore. It's not so much about what's above the ground, it's what's below the ground. This journey to the underworld, walking in the footsteps of hobbits. It feels like you're in some setting for the Lord of the Rings, and you'll be walking past stalactites and stalagmites, and you'll have this little boat. You've got this little tin boat, and on this underground stream, you'll look up and it looks like the stars at night. It's actually glowworms that hang from the roof of the cave. Now, my hobbits, it's here that we can hop in barrels and then head down this underground stream. Well, not necessarily barrels. We'll put you in wetsuits with little rubber rings and miner's lamps on your head, and you can actually go on these underground highways past all those glowworms and stalagmites, and it's quite exciting. And then from there, any good hobbit's got to go home, and home is Hobbiton. Hobbiton is the film set that was used, and to actually go inside a hobbit home, to go and see this amazing little village, it truly blows you away. I mean, just passing over that little bridge there, going into the Green Dragon pub, bellowing up to the bar for lunch or a pint of lager, or maybe staying for an evening banquet. There's some great little tours that, of course, can be organised through Bon Voyage Travel. So remember that. And Rotorua is home to geothermal activity, boiling mud and geysers, and it's here you'll come face to face with Maori culture. And a great place to visit and meet the Maori is to go into a marae. A marae is a meeting house. This is Te Pui, a marae, and you can actually meet up with the traditional Maori carvers. You can go and stay for a traditional Maori dinner in the evening. Go and visit the village in the evening and have a hangi. A hangi is where the food is cooked on hot rocks in the ground, like an earth oven. And any good reason for feasting is a good reason for entertainment. The winner will put on this fabulous display of song and dance. They'll use the poi, those balls there, they use them like nunchuckers. The men jump out, and it's quite terrifying. They jump out and do the haka. Kumate, kara, poke out their tongues. It's a lot of fun, I promise you. Now, there's all sorts of adventurous stuff you can do. You can go whitewater rafting. They've got some great areas to do that. You can go zorbing. Ever heard of zorbing? You're like a hamster in a big balloon rolling down a hill. You can also go to the Rainbow Springs Nature Park, which is home to a bird that is it's the kiwi bird, the national symbol of pride, the kiwi bird. Now, the kiwi bird lays an egg 1/3 the size of its own body. I want you to think about that for a second. That'd bring a tear to your eye, wouldn't it? The kiwi bird. And the kiwi is their national symbol of pride. And it's just a marvelous to have the opportunity to see the kiwi bird, maybe see some baby kiwis. Now, I would point out only 5 million people, but over 60 million sheep. So you get to learn a bit about the farming when you're here as well. And we could do a farm stay. If you are interested in that, just talk to Bon Voyage Travel. They'll make sure it happens. You can go mountain biking, you can go zip lining, you can also take a gondola, nice leisurely little gondola ride, up to the Skyline restaurant for lofty views over Lake Rotorua. After that, you might want to slip into a nice little hot spa. These beautiful Polynesian spas have been inviting guests from overseas for many years. In fact, a night walk also through redwoods also might be a highlight should you be interested. Now, going further south from here, we go to Lake Taupo, and Lake Taupo is where we'll find some great trout fishing, some wonderful Maori carvings. You'll also find the only river that comes out of that lake is where you'll find Hooker Falls. The falls come out, and it's nearly like a horizontal waterfall, and you can go jet boating through here. Yes, jet boat was actually invented by a New Zealand farmer by the name of Hamilton. His poor, troubled wife. What are you doing, honey? I'll stick a jet motor in a boat. Don't you worry, darling. We're going to go. I mean, this is a lot of fun. If you like adventure, it's fun. If you like the more luxurious pursuits, then Hooker Lodge might be more in keeping. And I can promise you there are some wonderful luxury lodges right throughout New Zealand. So depending on your budget, we can actually factor one of these in. And it really makes for a true highlight. If you're looking for a highlight with regards to hiking, you can do the Tonga River Alpine crossing with a guide. You're going to go on the Whanganui River and do a little adventure here with you go jet boating and hiking and bike riding, and also so it's a lot of great exploring around here. You can do the Forgotten World rail cart that takes you through farmland. These are old gold mining tracks, and these little golf carts kind of use the tracks to get you to places you wouldn't normally get to see. Now that's going through the Thermal Explorer Highway. Now we look at the Pacific Coast Highway, which, as you can see here, is going down the coastal side, the easterly side of the North Island. And it starts in the Coromandel Valley. And the Coromandel is where a lot of Kiwis, a lot of people from Auckland, actually have their holiday homes here. They call them batches or bachelor pads. Now, we can actually have you staying in some of these little batches, and they're quite delightful. And during the day, you'd head out and explore. You might head to Cathedral Cove and go for a nice walk on the beach, or go kayaking through the actual caverns. You might go hiking into the gorges, or biking around the rail trails, or heading and going for a swim in an actual thermal waterfall. It's a lovely warm waterfall. You might also take kayaks and head across to Wharekano, and this wonderful little island. Let's call it Donut. They also call it Donut Island because the center of the island is this lovely lagoon, and it's here that you'll find the rare and unique tuatara, which is like a dinosaur. Yeah, phenomenal. Now, after that day of adventure, imagine this, going down to a white sand beach right on sunset. There's a spade in the sand. So you start digging your hole and you create your own little spa, and hot water comes permeating up through that lovely sand, and you've got your own little spa. You can jump in the ocean, nice brisk cold swim in the ocean, come back in your nice warm spa. What a delightful finish to a day. Heading further south, we've got the Bay of Plenty, which has plenty of things to do. You can go kayaking through glowworm caves. You can head down further to Hawke's Bay, go and play some of the most amazing golf courses. This is Cape Kidnappers golf course, and you can stay at the farm at Cape Kidnappers, which is a lovely luxury property. Right next door, you've got the Gannet Colony. And you can do some great hiking down here up to Tamata Peak. Napier, the little township down here, is the most perfectly preserved Art Deco town in the world. Absolutely amazing. So beautiful that they celebrate every February rather, they celebrate this wonderful Art Deco weekend. So a phenomenal opportunity to actually enjoy and celebrate Art Deco. It's music, it's song, it's cars, it's everything. They're also home to the National Aquarium of New Zealand. Now, this region here is been voted one of the 12 great wine capitals of the world. This is number 12, Hawke's Bay. There is a couple of rivers that meander in here that kind of collect, they bring in all sorts of different minerals, and the wine in here is truly phenomenal. This is actually the start of the great wine trail through here. So there's lots of good cellar doors. You can tackle it by bike, you can tackle it by road, but ultimately that little classic trail starts here and goes all the way down to Wellington and across Picton and into the Marlborough region as well. Now, New Plymouth and the Western North Island areas takes in Mount Taranaki. Here you can ski at Taranaki in the morning and surf in the afternoon. Whanganui and Manawatu regions are great regions, fertile. This is like the bread basket of New Zealand and the food basket, you might say. Whanganui National Park is some great hiking, the Whanganui River, great kayaking, and just great wilderness. Wellington, the capital, is where you'll find this lovely tram car that takes you up for lofty views of this naturally deep harbour. Te Papa Museum is actually right in the centre of the city itself, and it's a great spot to kind of take in this fabulous curated Maori collection. So it's a wonderful collection. In fact, it's a good spot for interactive exhibits like, for example, Gallipoli, which was put together by the guys from Weta, The Scale of War. So amazing artifacts and great touring through here, like the Weta Workshop. Again, this is the headquarters for Weta. So if you're into the Lord of the Rings, you can do some touring up here around, and it's a good spot for that. There's also some great walking tours through Wellington, so tasting great food and wine. And then you can at night do Zealandia, where you can basically explore Wellington by night and take in some amazing bird life that are found out here. Now, if you want a luxury lodge, there's Wharakauhau, lovely luxury lodge, and that puts you on the doorstep of Martinborough. Now, Martinborough has in November a toast of Martinborough, where everybody gets all dressed up and goes out and tastes great wine. Leaving Wellington, going south to Picton to get down to the South Island, it's about a 3.5-hour journey on this vessel, and the actual journey itself will take you into Picton. Now, the northern part of the South Island is considered probably 70% of New Zealand's coastline is found in here. It's a whole series of bays and coves, and the fertile nature of the land found through here is so good for the making of Sauvignon Blanc that 70% of New Zealand's wine, Sauvignon Blanc, come from here. And you combine Sauvignon Blanc with the green-lipped mussels and the lovely oysters that call this place home as well. It's a match made in heaven. And they have a fabulous food wine festival here in February, should you be interested. Now, Queen Charlotte Track is a great bushwalking track. A lot of people do come to New Zealand to go hiking. You can also do that in Abel Tasman National Park, where you can go kayaking. And there's a car museum in Nelson. You can cycling trail through the Tasman's Great Taste Trail, where you can save a good local product and drop into bakeries and eat local cuisine. Nelson Lakes National Park, I mean, it's just delightful. It's all about the time you've got. We can guide you when you talk to Bon Voyage Travel. We'll make sure that you're given the right information to put together an itinerary that completes you and brings it all together. Now, Christchurch is the largest city on the South Island, and the Canterbury Plains, which can see extending across to the Great Southern Alps. Christchurch is the most English city outside of England, where punting on the Avon River is a lovely way to spend a little afternoon. And Christchurch has got this lovely Victorian tram that kind of totters through, lovely dinner on that in the evening. They've also got fabulous markets on a Saturday. Again, when you're working with Bon Voyage Travel, we'll make sure our itinerary pulls together that you are in the right place at the right time. You don't want somebody saying, oh, you should have been here yesterday. We had this fabulous market. You want to be where it's there, and you want to be where it's happening. Now, on the doorstep of Christchurch, you've got this Alpine Triangle. You've got the Hamner Springs area is where's great spa country. You've got the Waipara Valley Wine District. And then you've got north of there, you've got the Kaikoura, which is that area for whale watching. Yeah, and you can also go and watch New Zealand's fur seals. The babies are like little puppies. They're so cute. And there's a great spot if you're driving to drop into Nin's Bins. Now, Nin's Bins, he gets up like 5 o'clock in the morning. He goes swimming to catch lobster, or crayfish, we call it down there. And he'll cook this crayfish up. You'll sit outside, and it is just splendid. Oh, makes me salivate. Now, exploring Akaroa and the Banks Peninsula, it's east of Christchurch, and it's here that you can go swimming with little Hector dolphins. These are the smallest dolphins in the world. They're so cute. Also, leaving from Christchurch, you can head going inland to Mount Cook, and that's Mount Cook there, which is also referred to as Arangi. Arangi is referred to as the cloud piercer. This is Lupin, and Lupin through spring lines the roads. You've got the Church of the Good Shepherd, which is found here as well, just delightful. A great spot to get hitched. And it's also the Transalpine train. Speaking of hitching, catch a ride on the Transalpine train. This will take over the Great Southern Alps, and it's one of the most picturesque journeys. You can upgrade your experience and have a meal while you're traveling as well. But it is a great way to get across the Great Southern Alps. And you'll stop either at Arthur Pass or you'll go all the way through to Greymouth, where you can pick up a car or perhaps a driver will be picking you up and then taking you exploring. The West Coast is a bit like the Big Sur Drive in California, an amazing piece of coastline, quite rugged. You've got the Pancake Rocks at Punakaki. You've got Hokitika, where they actually mine jade, and you can get a chance to pick up some handcrafted jade souvenirs. You can drop into Franz Josef, and Franz Josef is a glacier. You can actually go and hop on a little helicopter flight and fly up onto the glacier and go hiking. You can stop after that and do a little glacier hot pool. So you can, calm yourself down after a nice day of activity and enjoy a nice pool. Then from there, we're going to head across to the southeastern side of the South Island, which is down to Dunedin. Now, Dunedin is the most Scottish town outside of Scotland, where the piping of the haggis. Now, we drama Scotch is not a bad way to finish the day. Okay, you like that? Yes, Dunedin is a very Scottish influenced town, and the architecture, Georgian, Gothic, and there's also some great breweries and pubs, which you kind of expect with the Scots. They make some good beers, and you'll definitely have a cleansing ale or two. There's also some great wildlife down here. You've got New Zealand fur seals, you've got yellow-eyed penguins, you've got the Royal Albatross colony, the largest colony of ocean-going bird in the world. It's the biggest ocean-going bird in the world also. Then you've got some amazing geological sites, like you've got the clay cliffs, you've got the elephant rocks, you've got the Moraki boulders. These Moraki boulders, be careful when you're jumping around these things. They might just gobble you up. And there's some fun little photographs you can take while you're there. Now, Lanark Castle is the only true castle in all of New Zealand. And they say a lot of it was brought across from Scotland. And don't you think, in looking at that picture, can't you imagine the Loch Ness Monster kind of making its way? And this little castle, you can stay here if you like. We can organize that as well. Now, the pristine coastline extends itself all around the bottom. You'll go past Invercargill, which is the southernmost city. You've got the Bluff oysters, a little town called Bluff, and the oyster down here is as big as the palm of your hand. So really nice oysters. Now from there, you can head across by ferry to Stewart Island, and Stewart Island's interesting because it's here. You can go on nocturnal walks to see brown kiwis, all sorts of wonderful weird birds. They've got the weka down there. It's just amazing. Now heading across to Queenstown, and Queenstown is the adventure capital. It's on the banks of Lake Wakatipu. The remarkable ranges behind you there, and it's here you can go whitewater rafting, you can go jet boating, you can go bungee jumping off a beautiful bridge. You can also do what's called the awesome foursome, and that means in one day you do those three things: bungee, whitewater, and jet boating. Plus, we put you in a helicopter and you go up over the remarkable ranges and you drop down the other side. That night you'll sleep in your wardrobe standing up, your eyes like saucers. If you like adventure, the Kiwis are good at it. If you want something more relaxed, T.S. Earnslaw, the only paddle steamer in all of New Zealand. It takes you across to the Walter Peak station, which is a working sheep station. And it's here you'll get a chance to actually see the sheepdogs at work. And after, you can have a lovely barbecue lunch or barbecue dinner. It's a great way to celebrate. Truly, I think it's one of the best dining experiences you'll have in all of New Zealand. Now, I mentioned this jet boat idea. Dart River is a great place to do a jet boat, especially as a small group, and it's kind of open. You can also look at doing the fun yaks. These are a lot of fun, as the name suggests, but it's not like arduous paddling. You're just going with the strength of the stream, which is very gradual, taking in all the sights. You also stop for a gourmet picnic lunch, very nice. And after that, you get to walk it off through a lovely little beechwood forest. You're going to hike through. It's just a small walk. Nice way to kind of take in lungfuls of fresh air before you get a jet boat ride home. Now, the boutique wine tour of the Central Otago for small group wine tastings is great because a lot of these wineries are very small and they don't want a huge number of people coming in. So we've got some great companies who will get you out to these areas to truly experience them. A bit like the Safari of the Scenes tour. This little touring here takes you to areas that have used in the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit trilogies. And the scenery you're looking at is sublime. You can do cycling between stations, between farm stations. You go hiking, the Rupon track, Hollyford track, the Milford track. You can play golf here, some great golf courses. And you can take a lovely journey down to Milford Sound, which is quite a famous journey because the scenery is sublime. You've got, again, you've got big panoramic windows. You want to relax, enjoy, and take in sites like Mirror Lake and have somebody else worry about the traffic jams. You don't want to worry about traffic jams like this sheep being pushed from paddock to paddock. You can stop at little lookouts. You can get out and take in the scenery. And you've got to stop here. This is Homer Tunnel. When the light's red, you've got to stop. And these little birds here are the smartest birds ever. That is a kea. The kea is a mountain parrot, one of the smartest birds in the world. And they've got a fetish for rubber. They'll come down and pull the rubber off your windscreen wipers, off your door jambs. They'll try and jack up your car and knock off your tires. They are a beautiful bird, a smart bird, so clever, in fact. So see that little cone on the left-hand side of the road there? They can pick that up with their claws and beak. They'll pull that cone across to be in the middle of the road to stop buses going so they can catch up with you. They like people. They like the food you're going to give them, of course. Now, this here, when the light goes green, then you make your way through the tunnel. And as you're going through the tunnel, the driver will have music playing like Chariots of Fire that builds up to a nice crescendo. And just as you're about to burst through, the song comes to completion and bang, you're in this amazing lost world of the Fiordland National Park. Now, it's been carved by glaciers, and these glaciers are like that mountain there's called Mitre Peak. It's about a mile high, and you'll be on these little red charter boats, and the water's like a sheet of glass. You'll be chased by dolphins, and you'll pull up under waterfalls that fall from such a great height. It's like a giant Etfian spray. Does that sound exciting? Well, it is. It's amazing. It's 100% pure New Zealand experience. Coming back from here, I'd highly recommend you hop on a plane or do a helicopter back, because that'll get you back into Queenstown early. If you're going back by road, you'll get back at like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, depending on the time of year. And if you're going back by helicopter, you're back at 5 and you're going out to dinner. You're in the Skyline restaurant, you've got the best seat in the house, and guess who's organizer? Yes, your mates at Bon Voyage Travel. So guys, I want to thank you very much for taking part in my little presentation. I hope you've enjoyed it. And really, New Zealand is a great destination. But having this checklist is going to help you really bring it all together. So my friends at Bon Voyage Traveller are going to be sending this to you right now, and that will and we want you to complete that and send it back to them. So there'll be a travel advisor from Bon Voyage Travel that will work with you to make sure that you get exactly what you want in your itinerary. If you're doing Australia and New Zealand, we can give you checklists for both Australia and New Zealand, and we can also send you a presentation on Australia as well. So let Bon Voyage Travel know what you need, and remember just to call your Bon Voyage Travel office and let the fun begin. Let's start with questions now. Have you got any questions for me?
As the questions come in, I thought it would be, and thank you, Jeff, by the way. Thank you for another great presentation. We had the same presentation at 4 o'clock, and I promise you, I see more, something different and interesting, exciting each time. So you take something new away. So a lot to do in New Zealand. But a question that we had from the 4 o'clock show, I thought could be relevant for these guys here. If you're wanting to combine Australia and New Zealand, what time frame would you recommend?
Right. Well, at a minimum, it would be 2 weeks. Preferably 3 or 4 is what you want. The longer you go, the more we can include. Think about this. Australia is the same size as the lower 48 states of the USA. Just let that settle in. Same size as the lower 48 states of the US. So, I mean, if you've only got a couple of weeks, how much of the US would you see? And where would you spend the time? That's where we can help you on both things. We can actually give you guidance on the things you should do, the first timers, and also if you, once we get talking to you, if you turn around and say, oh, we're planning on going back again, well, we might say, well, let's spend our time here for the first trip. Let's go there the next trip. So it's really about you. It's about budget. It's about time. It's about all those things. And starting off 2 weeks is a minimum. But what would an itinerary look like? It'd be probably, say, 2 weeks would be Sydney for 3 nights, 4 nights up in Cairns, and then it'll be down to Auckland, 3 nights, 1 night Auckland, 3 nights in Rotorua, and then 4 nights in Queenstown, because that gives you 3 full days in Queenstown, and we can do lots of those activities.
Perfect. Thank you. We had a question come in. Can you watch this recording later? Of course, we will be sending the recording out to you actually tomorrow. And in that email, you'll see the recording link, but also there will be a PDF of this New Zealand checklist that Jeff has been referencing. So definitely take a look at it. The fun part is the planning. So go through it, check off what you want to do, what you want to see, rewatch this presentation and get inspired by new experiences that maybe you didn't think you wanted to do, but now you do. And then call us. We can put it all together for you. We work very closely with Jeff. So, and as you mentioned on the last webinar, we can even set up a three-way call so that we can just banter back and forth and figure out the perfect vacation for you.
Yeah.
So, let me
That's
see.
great.
It looks like there's another
I'll
question.
just
Go ahead.
I'll just follow on while you kind of that's great advice. I mean, at the end of the day, don't be worried about how these things are going to come together. That's what we do. That's what we do. We live this. I mean, this is where I'm from. This is my home. So I'm going to look at what you've suggested that you'd like to see and do, and I'll create an itinerary that basically ticks all your boxes. That's the idea. And if by chance you've kind of don't have the time to do it all well, I'll make sure I give you great advice and guidance on the things I believe are best suited for you. So just tick those boxes. Make sure when you do, if there's certain things that are must do, circle them. Make those circles. Tick boxes, but then go back and then circle. That's all very fine. I've ticked nearly everything. Let me go back and say, I must do this. I must do this. I must do the jet boat. I must do, and it'll help us. It'll help guide us to put that itinerary together.
Someone is asking about small group hiking. Can you
Yeah.
speak to that at all?
Well, yeah, absolutely. You've got the Rootford track, the Hollyford track, a Milford track. Yes, there's some great small group hiking that we can actually get you involved with. You can do it whether you want to do a day hike or you want to do a 3-day hike. Again, it's about what time do you have and how serious are you about hiking. Once we know that, then you might just be wanting to go and do a little walk into the national park and back out again. It's all about timing. I mean, there's a lot to see in New Zealand. There's a lot to see in Australia too. So, let us know what it is you need and we'll make sure you're looked after.
Perfect. Looks like one more question. Oh, just very interested in this presentation. So yes, and I second that. Thank you so much, Jeff. It was a lot of information and I truly appreciate you putting this together. Like I had said earlier at the travel show, he did a presentation on Australia. It was so well attended and so much interest and everyone was saying, okay, now we want to know about New Zealand. So thank you for putting this together
No
last
worries.
minute. Please call your Bon Voyage travel advisor and we can help you with the rest. And we're looking forward to working with you. Thanks again, Jeff.
No worries at all. Yeah, on behalf of the travel advisors, your travel advisor mates at Bon Voyage Travel, thank you for your time, and we look forward to working with you. And I hope I'm going to hear from you because I'm keen to make sure that we make your trip to New Zealand a complete one, and also Australia too. So let them know if you need any help with Australia. I'll send you a link for that checklist as well. Cheers.
Great. Thanks, Jeff.